I move that we consider the budget of the Department of Social Welfare and Development and acknowledge the presence of its officials. We now recognize the distinguished Senator Amy Marcos to sponsor the same and to interpolate our good minority leader, Senator Pimentel.
The consideration of the budget of the Department of Social Welfare and Development, its executive offices, is now in order for today's interpellation. Chair would like to recognize the sponsor, Senator Amy Marcos, and to interpolate our minority leader, Senator Pimentel.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you, Majority Leader. Today, I will sponsor the proposed 2024 budget of the Department of Social Welfare and Development, including its attached and supervised agencies. Under the 2024 NEP, DSWD's proposed budget of 209.668 billion is 10.411 billion higher than it was in 2023. The House of Representatives, in the General Appropriations Bill, increased DSWD's budget by 245.130 billion or 35.462 billion higher than the 2024 NEP. On the other hand, the Senate decreased the agency's 2024 budget to 244.416 billion or a net reduction of 714.166 million. So there's a discrepancy, as is clearly seen, between the NEP, the congressional version, as well as the Senate version. Thank you.
Majority Leader.
And to interpolate our good minority leader, Senator Pimentel.
Yes, our minority leader is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. The permission of our sponsor. And thank you for that very clear opening statement, Mr. President, which laid out for us the differences between NEP 2024, the House bill, and the Senate committee report budget levels, especially for the office of the secretary. Doon po yung malalaking changes eh. But admittedly, even the Senate committee level for the office of the secretary is higher than what the executive proposed, Mr. President, by, if I'm not mistaken, 32 billion.
32 billion.
Yes, 32 billion. So,
this constitutes the 33.312 billion constitutes the House increases.
Again, Mr. President, 32, yung committee report po natin increases the NEP by 32 billion. The House version, more than our increases. So sige nga, did we retain the proposed House increases? Hindi. Not in totality.
In the meantime, we retained, but there's also a significant reduction in the Senate version.
Around 1 billion.
Yes, not quite, 800 million.
800 million. What PAPs were affected by our reduction? Compared to the government?
I think the reduction involves a 4-piece. Those who have graduated and also different projects such as the reduction in the sustainable livelihood, I believe, as it has already been encompassed by other projects.
Sige, yun yung the sustainable livelihood program is meant, ito pa, yun ang aking understanding, is meant to be the follow-up program for those who have improved their life circumstances under the 4-piece program. Tama po ba yun? Parang graduated yun, di ba? From 4-piece, you now go to SLP?
Yes, that's correct. But the SLP is also involves other projects in the Kalahi seats and others.
Yes.
So I think there's an effort to streamline and simplify this livelihood project.
The magic words have been mentioned, Mr. President. That's why if SLP contains the Kalahi seats, that's why I fail to understand what SLP is all about, because I really do not understand what Kalahi seats is. So siguro we will devote time siguro, Mr. President, Para maintindihan po natin, no? Okay. Okay, Kalahi Seeds is what? A program of the DSWD?
Yes, the Kalahi Seeds, as we know, is Kaunlaran at Kabuhayan sa Barangay KKB. And this was a program that started in the early 2000s. First, it was foreign funded. As we recall, there were OS-8 grants derived by then Secretary Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. So matagal na to, mga tira-tira na to. Yung iba rito, nanggaling sa foreign funded, sa World Bank, ngayon nag-a-apply na naman sa ADB. Yung iba naman, totally locally funded. So among the modalities, yung kauna-unahan, yung community-driven development. So there's a 500 million here na binibigay sa LGU to choose kung ano yung gusto nila. Whether it's an artisan well or a farm-to-market road, bahala yung LGU. So isa yung ganon. And then there's also the pag-abot na project, which is a reach-out project for street dwellers, which is also affiliated with another project of one of our colleagues, and that's the Balik Probinsya. Pag alis nila sa mga lansangan, dadalhin sila sa probinsya. So that's back-to-back, pag-abot at saka Balik Probinsya. Pagkatapos nito, meron tayong iba't ibang cash for work, which is derived from the 2022 APRO, yung na-extend natin dahil sa COVID, yung cash for work. Ito na naman yung mga persons with disabilities, may 300 million for the graduates and college students who are unable to find work post-pandemic, may 1 billion dyan. And then there's a new pilot project called the Tarabasa Tutoring Program, which endows the tutor for a 20-day period, 2 hours a day, with a budget of 900 million. Hindi pa tayo natatapos dyan. Maliban pa dyan sa mga community-driven, meron pa yung projects nila sa former conflict areas. Eto na si Pamana. And yung Pamana projects, they're all limited to the areas that were formerly insurgency afflicted. Tapos, may that's a local project. Finally, there's a PMNP. Ito naman, foreign-funded Philippine Multi-Sectoral Nutrition Project. Kasama na naman dyan yung supplemental feeding, pero ito yung foreign component. So labo-labo po to.
Kaya nga parang nakita ko na parang the program wants to be a mini government, but ang main main function is to extend assistance. Iba-iba kahit anong problema, pero so if this is a program, sige nga, how long has this been a program of the DSWD? Huwag naman natin pag-usapan yung components of the program, but as a program.
I believe that this has been going on for over 20 years because I recall that
Can we have the year? I think the DSWD should know the year.
2003. So this is a 20-year program, and in 2017, the minority leader himself initially proposed the Kalahi KKB. I believe that seems to be on record as one of your initiatives, Bob.
Well, I think I will disown that, that initiative. I have no idea, I have no recollection, Mr. President, that I have understood this Kalahi program, so I would not have proposed that.
I believe it has morphed since the time you initially proposed it as a community development program.
If it's, is this program intended to have a natural lifespan? Is this program to expire in the future?
Yes, if we notice the World Bank foreign-funded infra component, the infra component will already expand by the end of 2024, December. So yun, patapos na yun. Yung OS-8 is long gone. I think there's an application for additional funding with the ADB naman, and this is for more additional community-driven development program. So, may natatapos naman po.
Hindi, pero since meron pa tayo ADB application, we don't intend it to end in the near future, bale. Yeah, we're extending the program. We're borrowing pa ADB. Yun po.
These are exploratory talks. There's nothing firm yet. But the intention of this community-driven development program, na humihingi sila ng additional funding, was to respond to the effects of COVID and the continuing disasters in its wake. So, yung mga far-flung provincial communities ang ina-address niyan.
Does this, since this looks like it's a very important program of the DSWD and also well-funded and it has a large budgetary impact, meron naman siguro kayong comprehensive brochure about this program. Sige nga, pag-aralan, pag kailangan po yata ito talaga.
Yes, I'm
upuan, opo, Mr. President.
Yes, tama po si Minority Leader. Actually, I compelled them to list all the different modalities since there seem to be so many different forms and shapes of this program. Essentially, I believe this has been a work in progress. Every time there's some kind of an emergency, a program is birthed from the disaster, the epidemic, and all other calamities.
Sige po, sige. But since we're talking about the budget, sige, para po maintindihan po natin. The budget for the Office of the Secretary in the committee report, 241.8 billion. Okay, how much of this would be under the Kalahi Seeds program?
It's 2.9. It's 2.9. Originally 3.82. It's now 2.934 billion.
Okay, 2.9 billion pesos. Of that, 241 is for the Kalahi Seeds program. And this is the 2.9 are the locally generated funds. May foreign component pa ito?
Wala. That's already our share. That's the breakdown I read earlier among the different projects like the Pag-abot, Probinsya, Cash for Work, etc. That's all locally funded.
Loan proceeds to be devoted to Kalahi?
Yes. There's only one loan left. I think that's a 3.7 billion for additional financing of the post-COVID loan.
Additional finance.
And our counterpart and payment is contained in the unprogrammed section. So that's
Yes, how much done?
the loan proceeds is 3. Yes, it's 3.7 billion.
Yes, okay. Unprogrammed po ito? Unprogrammed po
Yes,
ito?
it's right now in the unprogrammed, although there's a request that it be included in the GAA, given the delays and sometimes the uncertainty of unprogrammed items.
If this item in the unprogrammed appropriations to the tune of 3.7 billion, should it be released? Okay, may possibility naman ma-release yun.
Oo naman.
So, I will add this to the 2.9 billion. So, 6.6 billion ang ating
Altogether.
budget for Kalahi Seeds.
Yes, 2.9 plus 3.7.
Okay. Pero, of course, the 4-piece program's budget dwarfs the Kalahi Seeds budget. How much is our 4-piece program?
I think it's upwards of 50% of the budget of the department. It's 112,835 million. It's now been reduced actually by the Senate from the original amount. It's now 103,953 million.
Okay.
And actually, there have been questions about the reduction because they've been spun out to different projects.
How come itong 4-piece is also a regular program of the DSWD?
Yes, that's the largest program.
Since when?
Since 2007, I believe it started out as a pilot project that was ratcheted up as phase 2 and phase 3.
So it started.
It's actually been going on for, what is it now?
16 years.
15? Yeah.
16 years.
2007.
2007, okay.
Yeah.
Kaya nga, but if we look at the amounts given to the program, masyadong volatile. Can you explain why the volatility in the amount given to the program?
Yeah. I think it's been a constant. It's always been roughly 50% of the DSWD budget. Parang ever since yan na talaga yung amount. Over time, it's always 50%. 1.4 million households constantly being serviced. 4.4 million households. They're the target households because that's so far what we can afford.
Hindi, yung answer na it's always 50% of the budget, parang all the more naging arbitrary eh. So, it's just a formula. Then we set aside the amount for a 4-piece program. What I meant when I said volatile,
Yes.
volatile kasi, for
Yes.
example, ngayon sa budget process, ang amount niya patalon-talon eh. 112 billion is what was the proposal of the House or of the NEP. And then Senate version 103. We can just discard 9 billion, gano'n na ba yun?
That's in the Senate version. Being that in our assessment, at least in the committee, there were quite a few had graduated or by natural circumstances became disqualified. Wala na silang minor children. So natanggal na sila sa listahan. And the exit strategy always is, pagkatapos na ng 4-piece, mag-sustainable livelihood and they can avail of other training programs.
Doon ako interesado nga sa graduates eh, kasi if the program which is meant to assist the poorest of the poor, or including the poor? Ano ba itong programa?
I think we have to say it's only the poorest of the poor because our cutoff is always at 4.4 households when we know for a fact that there are probably more who would qualify. There's a very large waiting list, particularly after the pandemic.
So we look at the households. What is, from the point of view of the DSWD, the Philippines is comprised of how many households, Mr. President?
Sorry? Yes. Yes. Whereas DSWD is only able to service 4.4, the PSA states that there's a 4.7 impoverished household figure. So there's still a significant number that await some help.
Yes, but if you talk about households, siguro the DSWD has an idea how many total households in the Philippines. Kasama Forbes Park. Yung
Total.
total.
Because they always deal with the poor.
No,
I think it's upwards of 20 million households.
20 million households.
Oo. Pero dun sa 20 million, yung considered poor, nasa 6 million, ang nasa survey is 4.4. Tama ba? Mali yung sinabi kanina. Mali yung sinabi kanina.
Yan na naman tayo, PSA, talagang pinapabalik natin bukas dahil yung pagdating talaga sa statistics, mali-mali tayo.
Tama.
So what is now the final answer?
Yes, so it seems
Pero Mr. President, ang kawawa si PSA, siya ang pinapabalik.
Tama. Actually, di ba nagka-problema na tayo dyan kasi yung listahanan kung family versus household, tapos yung poverty thresholds, iba-iba rin kasi. Tapos ngayon, nasa CGMP naman tayo, iba na namang listahan yun. So, in any case, apparently there are 20 million households recorded in the Philippines. 6 million are assumed to be poor. 4.4 million are actually served by the 4Ps program.
From the point of view of our policymakers and program designers in the DSWD, 6 million households you assume them to be poor.
Yes. That's the finding of the PSA. Well, that's the finding of the PSA.
Kala ko 4.7.
Sorry. Now it turns out it's not PSA to blame. It turns out it's the DSWD's own listahanan 3 that says 6 million are in fact poor out of the 20.
Kaya ko tinatanong yun kasi nag-ratio percentaging ako eh.
Tama.
6 of 20, 30%. 30% households.
Yes, I believe so. Yeah, it's a very large sum.
If we should follow that, then poverty incidence rates surveys must be in the vicinity of 30%. Is that the admission or the data of the current administration that the poverty incidence rate right now is 30%? Ano, kuya, tigil na.
The percent. Yes, I think that the poverty level that's officially stated is always 18%. But by these numbers, the minority leader is right, it's upwards of 30+%. So there needs to be a distinction between the two. Yes, I think it boils down to listahanan's weaknesses, and that's because listahanan does not assess the entire 20 million, but a mere 15 million. May tinira pang 5 million eh. And we should also probably consider that listahanan was finished during the time of COVID, so that the indicators would.
So we could be wasting money actually, giving to households who should not have qualified, if that is the reasoning, Mr. President.
I think there's a focus in the listahanan on the hunger hotspots, the really poverty-ridden areas, and they don't include the more prosperous regions. And as a result, it's skewed toward poverty, kaya napakataas.
Hindi. Even if yung 5 billion na hindi nyo sinurvey, consider na natin hindi poor, it's still 30%.
It's still 30%, yeah.
It doesn't make any sense, Mr. President.
Kasi you still boil down to 4.7 out of 15. So, malaki pa rin eh. This has always been the discussion. I think there's always been a problem with poverty data, and I'd be the first to say so because as a governor, I had to disaggregate my own provincial data with great difficulty. Dahil unang-una nga, iba yung household at saka family. Tapos yung consideration ng poor, malnourished, and so on. Paiba-iba. So, eto nga.
Kawawa kasi presidente rin, Mr. Presidente. Sa zona niya, he mentions figures eh.
Yes, 18% nga.
Pati unemployment rate, question natin, tinanong natin ang doon eh. Mali-mali din ang mga figures. So ito, kung sabihin ng presidente, poverty incidence rate will be down to 9% at the end of his term. Yun ang sabi.
That's
the starting point is 22%. If the DSWD figures are to be believed, mali. It should be 30%. And how can he bring it down to 9% at the end of his term, Mr. President? So let's help the administration, we help the president by feeding him correct figures or siguro may factual basis naman po yung ating mga figures, hindi lang siguro baka desktop or tabletop calculations lang po ito. Actually, I appreciate na dalistahanan kasi ang assumption ko niyan, from the ground, sinuyod niyo po yung...
That's correct. Kasi may mga pangalan yan eh. Hindi katulad ng PSA na sampling. Nagsasample rin yung listahanan, pero basically, as you said, it's derived from the ground.
Then how come the administration does not use the 30% figure of DSWD, the more accurate figure? Kaya yung plano niya sa 2028, by the time the president exits, 9% na lang daw, single digit na daw ang poverty incidence rate. Kawawa naman kung hindi talaga ma-achieve because he assumed 18 or 22% ang assumption. I'm getting the MTFF assumptions, Mr. President.
Yes, I think the idea or the strategy of the DSWD is to saturate the poorest barangays. So yung more prosperous are excluded in their listing, which probably bloats the poverty number to 30%. Kasi saturation of rural and urban poor yan.
Secretary, with your people, it does not, that's my point. Even if you assume that the unsurveyed 5 million
Are all rich.
30% pa rin, mas masama nga sinasabi nyo na 6 million of the 15 are poor. Ano na yun eh? 30+%, 36%, more than 36%.
Mas malaki talaga ever since yung DSWD working figures for poverty than PSA. Mula sa poll, there's always been that disconnect. And we've always questioned it here in the Senate, and the answer has always been that their focus is to saturate the rural and urban poor barangays.
Yeah, but the administration which the secretary is part of, okay, your success will be measured against your promises. Tandaan nyo, the president promised at the end of his term, single-digit poverty incidence rate. Ang interpretation ko dun, not more than 9%.
Correct.
And of course, may assumption siya. Di ba saan siya nag-umpisa? Di ba? Nung na-turnover sa administration niya, may assumption siya. Ang layo ang assumption na it's not in the vicinity of 30%, which is reflected by your figures na sinuyod ninyo from the ground. Mas maganda na yung figures ninyo, mas maniniwala ako sa figures ninyo.